defending the free market, and making the moral case for capitalism. The Justin Moore Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Justin Moore Show. Now I have a very special show for you guys today. I have a guest on the show. Joining me today is John Hunt. He is a pediatrician and he is the chief medical officer of Liberty HealthShare. He's the author of other libertarian books, but now his latest book is Speculator, just out end of September, and he has co-authored this book with Doug Casey. John Hunt, welcome to the Justin Moore Show.
Thank you, Justin. Great to be here.
Yeah, so, John, I'm curious. Okay, so how is it writing a book with Doug Casey? I mean, when you're reading this novel, it really sounds like it's written all in one voice the entire time. So, I mean, how do you do that?
A lot of back and forth, a lot of collaboration, melding of our minds, and I learned a huge amount from Doug during the process of writing this book, so that I think that was the key elements. Is I absorbed a great deal from Doug.
Oh, okay. And I guess you and Doug, obviously, you probably agree a lot on philosophy. Is that right for the most part? Or
yeah, I'd say 98% or more.
98%. Okay, so I know in the book, and I know from Doug Casey, he opposes charity. And I think, and you're a philanthropist sort of guy here. So let me just read this quote from the book and just get you to react to it. It says, "Charity tends to destroy the recipient by, in effect, rewarding him for his misfortune. I understand that accidents happen and people often both need and deserve help. Such help should be from one individual to another, which encourages responsibility to both the giver and the receiver and cuts out the middleman." So I guess where do you come down on this?
Very similarly, I think that charity should be from you to somebody that you know and care enough about to pay heed to all of their strengths and weaknesses and provide assistance to them that won't cause harm. Okay. It's a very different concept than sending money off through a series of faceless organizations to unknown purpose. Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, so how did you begin writing and working on this project with Doug? Because this is a series. This is the first book of 6. So how did you guys get started together?
Jeffrey Tucker had been instrumental in publishing my first novel, okay. And Jeffrey got a call from Doug several years back, about 2012, I guess. Might have been before then, and connected us up. And Doug was looking for a fiction co-author, and I was a fiction libertarian author, and he connected us together, and that began it.
Okay,
it was wonderful.
That is wonderful. So, as you just mentioned, you have written other fiction libertarian novels, like your book Higher Cause that came out a few years ago. I guess what drives you to do this? I mean, do you see this as an effective way or an alternative way to get the libertarian message out, or what's your feeling on this?
Well, I'm not a Hollywood movie producer, and that didn't seem like it was in my immediate future. So, and I think that's probably the most effective thing to do. So I went for something else that had a chance.
Okay.
Fighting in the medical system has been quite a challenge, although my new position as Chief Medical Officer of Liberty HealthShare has a great opportunity there to fight for libertarian causes.
Okay, yeah. So what do you do in that organization?
It is a healthcare sharing ministry focused on finding ways to help people deal with the hyperinflated costs of healthcare that have resulted from the health insurance complex. Mm-hmm. So it help people keep away from health insurance, but find ways to share amongst each other in a voluntary fashion instead of a compulsory fashion to help each other's finances in the event of the misfortune of a disease or accident that wasn't caused by themselves.
Okay. I guess, with the disaster that is, the United States healthcare right now, would you say it's the third party payers that is the biggest problem of all of them, or what do you think about that?
The third party payment concept, I think, is the underlying cause of the healthcare or medical care hyperinflation. The mandating and subsidization by government of the third-party concept basically propelled that forward despite the disabilities and hyperinflation that it causes. Mm-hmm. So either the government or the concept of third-party payment is the problem.
Okay, so I know you used to live in Africa, and most people when they think of Africa, they think of desert, they think of the savannah, they think of zebras, cheetahs, giraffes, hippos, the whole 9 yards. So, and so again, a lot of people think that Africa is just really not this modern place. There's no running water, electricity. I guess for the listeners out there, is there more to Africa than the savannah and the zebras?
Oh my, yes. And I would think it'd be fairer to say that I traveled to West Africa extensively and stayed there for long periods of time, but never had residence there. But Africa, you need to go. The nutshell is you need to go because it's very unlike what you expect it to be. And well, let me rephrase that. It was certainly very unlike what I expected it to be when I first went. Mm-hmm. When I first went to Liberia, there was very little electricity. Running water was rare, but it was available. The wealthier places had it.
Okay.
But it wasn't very broad or widespread. But the areas that I stayed in mostly were relatively urban and no grass huts or things in the urban areas. But there were certainly slums and destruction, and a great deal of Monrovia looked like Beirut in the 80s.
Okay. Okay, so, I had Doug Casey on the show last week, and, he gives advice, and I've heard him in speeches saying he recommends young people go move to Africa if they want a chance to, a chance at succeeding and making something big of themselves. There's a lot of opportunity there. I guess, do you come down with the same sort of advice as Doug Casey there? Or what?
If you want adventure, opportunity, potential to be a big fish in a pond, to have excitement and to get outside of your comfort zone, and are willing to sacrifice security and stability in that process, I would say yes, go to Africa. Open up your eyes to a much broader world than wandering around in the streets of the United States.
Okay, so when I was at Freedom Fest with you, we had lunch together, and you were explaining to me that in Africa they have two different views of money. Can you explain what those two views are?
So, I'd limit the comment to sub-Saharan Africa, but sub-Saharan Africa, it's an interesting thing how different it is from the way we think of money optimally in the Western civilizations, where we consider money to be a storehouse of value, something that we can save for our future or invest in a project. The sub-Saharan Africa, money is probably can best be defined as something that will sooner or later get borrowed from you and never returned. So it's not something that you want to let anybody know you have, because there's a cultural obligation to loan it to people who ask for it, and no real cultural obligation to pay back loans. Very hard to accumulate capital when you have that totally different concept of money.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so in your book, Speculator, that's book number 1 of the High Ground series, and you're going to have 6 total. What are you trying to do in this series? What's your goal?
So my goal, which is very similar to Doug's, I believe, is to present to anyone interested a truly moral hero who is not somebody that most commonly gets rooted for these days in movie theaters and on TV, which is some agent of a state, a government who's out to forward the interests of the state, but rather a hero who's out to forward the interests of the dignified individual human, and a hero who's never believes that the ends justify the means, that moral means are always necessary. So we chose that path, and Doug picked the path of using 6 highly besmirched professions in which our moral hero would undertake to uses a juxtaposition of what is generally considered an immoral profession with a highly moral person in it, to show how these professions could actually be good if the person in it is good.
Okay, right. I guess, yeah. So why don't you list some of those professions that are going to be part of the series?
So not normally considered profession past speculator, but the second book is drug lord, and our hero Charles Knight will indeed be a drug lord. The third book, he's an assassin. The fourth, a terrorist. Fifth book is warlord, and the sixth book is Antichrist.
Wow, that's slightly controversial, I'm guessing.
Well, each one will be. I mean, the second book, Drug Lord, is not going to be highly favorable to the Food and Drug Administration or the various police agencies of the federal government or the central banks, for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, what you're doing in this series, I would say it's rather timely, because you look at a lot of the popular TV shows today, they're really the anti-hero is the hero. You know, like look at Breaking Bad with the teacher who's cooking meth. You know, it just seems like it's kind of a trend right now. So you know, I think you're right where the market's at. And then these libertarian ideas, it seems like it's a growing movement. I guess where do you see the liberty movement today? Is it growing or dying?
Oh, yes, both. Growing and dying at the same time. It's pulsating, I would say. I think there's a more and more awareness of it. It wasn't long ago where nobody had really heard of libertarians, and now I'd say probably 40 or 50% of the population has at least heard the word, although they probably don't know what it means. Mm-hmm. But hearing the word is often a first step. So I would say I'm optimistic of the libertarian concept spreading, maybe not in the United States, but in other places on the globe.
Okay, yeah. So you had mentioned when you were listing the different occupations that are going to be different books in the series, and the last one is Antichrist. Now you're a Christian, right, John?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a Christian and Doug is an atheist. So how is it going to be writing that last book in the series?
Great fun. There's a plan. There's a plan.
Okay. So John, where can people find this book, and where can people follow you and see what you're up to?
It's on all the typical outlets that you get through internet: Amazon, Kobo, iBook, Barnes and Noble, and the easiest, of course, is Amazon. Okay, and that's where probably 90% of the books are getting bought these days.
Right.
So if you just go to Amazon and type in Speculator, I think it pops right up, or Speculator Doug Casey will certainly pop right up.
Yeah, I've already done that search. Yeah, you just type in Speculator, and it's the first book to pop up there. So, John, it's been great getting to know you. It was great meeting you at Freedom Fest. I absolutely love the book. I think every one of my listeners out there, you guys should purchase this book. I mean, this book, seriously, it rivals Atlas Shrugged. You like a little bit of philosophy that's tied in with just a fantastic story. I mean, this is a thriller novel. When I was reading this thing, I couldn't put it down. It's a page turner. You really are. You're at the edge of your seat, and it's just, and you learn from it. You learn. It's like you're going to the gold mine, with Doug Casey, and that's where he's made his living. It's just so many different things that you don't get in a book these days. And for listeners of this show, you like libertarian ideas. You are like a believer in what's going on in the liberty movement. This is the book for you. And I look forward to all the other books. Drug Lord, when's that one coming out? Because Doug was saying you guys are like 80% done with it. So. Next June?
That's a guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the plot, characters are all done, and it's lots of tweaks that we will go back and forth on now.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, guys. So get out there, go purchase a copy of Speculator, and I'm looking forward to Drug Lord coming out next year. And John, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Justin. Great talking to you again.
Yes, absolutely. This is Justin Moore, signing off.